The ocean was calm that morning when Jack Wilson's research ship cut through the waves. Jack had spent 15 years studying the ocean floor, but nothing prepared him for what his equipment picked up that day. At first, he thought the sonar was broken. The reading showed a massive object buried under the mud where no shipwreck had ever been reported. "Mike, come take a look at this," Jack called to his assistant. "Is the sonar acting up again?" Mike adjusted his glasses and stared at the screen. "No, Doc. Everything's working fine." "That's something big down there." Jack ordered the ship to stop and ran more scans. The object was huge, almost the size of an aircraft carrier, but its shape made no sense. It wasn't like any sunken ship he'd ever seen. It had smooth curves and strange angles that didn't match any human design. "We need to send down the remote sub," Jack said, already feeling his heart beat faster. 3 hours later, Jack and his team crowded around the monitors as the small underwater robot approached the object. Through the murky water, they saw something that changed everything. The object was partly buried in mud, covered in coral and sea plants, but sections of its metal skin still gleamed with an odd blue-green color. No rust, no decay, just smooth metal with strange patterns that seemed to catch the light in impossible ways. "That's not one of ours," Mike whispered. No one disagreed. Jack knew he needed to report this. Within 6 hours, military ships arrived. Scientists and soldiers swarmed onto Jack's research vessel. Among them was Colonel Lisa Reed, who took control immediately. "Dr. Wilson, I need everything you've found so far," she said, not bothering with small talk. "This area is now under military protection." Over the next few days, more experts arrived. Dr. Tom Green, a physicist who studied quantum fields, joined Jack in analyzing the data. Together, they discovered something even more unusual. The object was giving off energy. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," Tom said, running his hand through his messy hair. "The energy signature doesn't match anything in our physics books." Lisa ordered divers to collect samples of the metal, but their tools couldn't cut it. Whatever this thing was, it was built to last centuries underwater without damage. 1 week after finding the object, Jack, Tom, and Lisa stood on the deck of the largest military ship, watching as special equipment was lowered into the water. "We're going to try to clear away some of the mud and see more of its structure," Lisa explained. "If this is what we think it is." She didn't finish her sentence. She didn't need to. They all knew what this meant. Humans weren't alone in the universe, and the proof was sitting at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. By the end of the second week, they had cleared enough of the object to confirm what they suspected. It wasn't just random debris or a natural formation. They found what looked like a doorway. The patterns around it suggested technology far beyond human understanding. "It's a ship," Jack said quietly as they viewed the latest images. "A ship not built by human hands." The scientists worked day and night trying to understand the strange metal and the energy coming from inside. The military built a secure base on a nearby island. More ships arrived carrying equipment and experts from around the world. And deep inside the alien craft, something that had been quiet for centuries began to stir. A system damaged long ago slowly came back to life, triggered by the human activity around it. A signal, weak but steadily growing stronger, began to pulse outward from Earth, traveling through space toward distant stars. The signal had one simple message: help has arrived. The Voyager has been found. 3 weeks after the discovery, a team of scientists and military experts prepared to enter the alien ship. Jack, Tom, and Lisa stood at the command center on the military vessel, watching the live feed from the divers. "Are you sure this is safe?" Jack asked as he watched the team approach the doorway they had uncovered. Lisa's face remained serious. "Nothing about this is safe, Doctor, but we need to know what's inside before anyone else finds out about it." The diving team reached the strange doorway. Its surface looked like metal, but shimmered with colors that shifted under their lights. After many failed attempts with regular tools, they tried using a device Tom had created based on the energy readings from the ship. "Try the frequency modulator," Tom said into his microphone. "Aim it at the center panel." The lead diver pointed the device at the door. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the door simply disappeared. It didn't slide open or swing aside. It was there one moment and gone the next. "Did you see that?" Jack whispered, leaning closer to the screen. The divers moved cautiously into the opening. Their lights revealed a corridor with walls covered in strange patterns that seemed to move when no one was looking directly at them. The team slowly advanced, sending back images that left the scientists speechless. "The inside is dry," Tom noted with surprise. "After centuries underwater, it should be flooded." As the divers moved deeper into the ship, they noticed other strange things. Their movements felt lighter in some areas and heavier in others, as if gravity itself changed throughout the ship. Objects that looked solid would sometimes let their hands pass through, while empty air occasionally felt solid to the touch. "This technology is beyond anything we've ever imagined," Tom said, his voice filled with wonder and fear. After exploring several corridors, the team found a large circular room at the center of the ship. The walls were covered with what looked like control panels, but without any buttons or screens that humans would recognize. In the middle of the room stood a tall column of swirling blue light. "What do you think that is?" Jack asked. "Some kind of computer, maybe," Tom replied. "Or perhaps their version of an engine." One of the divers approached the column cautiously. As he got close, the blue light suddenly expanded, filling the room. The video feed showed strange symbols appearing in the air around the divers, moving and changing rapidly. "It's responding to their presence," Tom said excitedly. "It's still active after all this time." The symbols continued to change, eventually forming patterns that repeated over and over. Tom stared at them intently, his mind racing. "Those look like mathematical sequences," he said. "Prime numbers, binary code. I think it's trying to communicate." Over the next few days, Tom worked nonstop to understand the alien language. He set up equipment inside the ship and spent hours studying the patterns. Meanwhile, Jack and other scientists examined samples from different parts of the vessel, careful not to damage anything. Tom's breakthrough came unexpectedly. While testing different mathematical responses to the ship's symbols, the blue column suddenly projected a three-dimensional image of what appeared to be a star map. "It's showing us where it came from," Tom explained to Jack and Lisa as they watched the recording. "And I think I've figured out its basic communication system. It's like a universal language based on math and physics principles." Using his new understanding, Tom managed to ask simple questions to the ship's system. The answers were often confusing, but one thing became clear. The ship called itself the Voyager, or at least that was the closest human translation, and it had crashed on Earth around 700 years ago. "Can you ask why it crashed?" Lisa wanted to know. Tom tried, and the response made everyone in the room go quiet. The system showed images of the ship being damaged, then escaping from something. The final image was of a fleet of much larger ships heading in the direction of Earth. "I think we just woke up something that was supposed to stay asleep," Jack said quietly. "And I think others know it's awake now." Tom spent days working with the ship's system, trying to learn more about the Voyager and where it came from. The blue light column became his constant companion, showing him visions of stars and planets he had never seen. Jack and Lisa watched with growing concern as Tom became more and more obsessed with understanding the alien technology. "You need to rest," Jack told him one evening when he found Tom still inside the ship. "You've been at this for 40 hours straight." Tom barely looked up from his work. "You don't understand. This ship, it's trying to tell us something important, something urgent." That night, Tom finally made the breakthrough they had been waiting for. He managed to access what seemed to be the ship's logs, records of its journey and mission. What he found made his blood run cold. The next morning, Tom called an emergency meeting with Jack, Lisa, and the other project leaders. His face was pale, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "The Voyager belongs to a species called the Astrans," Tom explained, showing them images the ship had provided. The aliens looked vaguely humanoid, but with blue-tinted skin and eyes much larger than human ones. They've explored and colonized multiple star systems. Are they friendly? Someone asked. Tom hesitated. Not exactly. According to the ship's records, they consider less advanced species as resources to be managed, sometimes harvested. A heavy silence fell over the room. There's more, Tom continued. The Voyager was on an unauthorized scientific mission to study Earth. That's why it crashed. It wasn't supposed to be here. And now, he took a deep breath. The ship's emergency beacon has been slowly repairing itself over centuries. It activated when we started interacting with the ship. It's been sending a distress signal toward the Astran home system. Can we shut it off? Lisa asked immediately. I've tried, Tom said. But it's protected by systems I don't understand yet. And based on the ship's calculations, a response is already on its way. The Astrans will arrive within 4 months. The room erupted in panicked voices. Jack slammed his hand on the table to quiet everyone down. What happens when they get here? He asked Tom. Tom's face grew even more serious. According to the ship's records, the Astrans have strict rules about contact with other species. The unauthorized discovery of Earth would be considered a contamination. Their protocol is to sterilize the contaminated planet. They plan to kill us all? Lisa asked, her military training keeping her voice steady despite the horror of the idea. Unless we can convince them otherwise, Tom said. But there's one more thing you need to know. The Voyager wasn't just a regular ship. It was carrying something important, some kind of experimental technology. The Astrans will want it back, no matter what. Over the next few days, the information was shared with world leaders in secret meetings. For the first time in history, countries that had been enemies for generations found themselves working together against a common threat. A new organization was formed, the Earth Defense Coalition. Scientists from around the world were brought to study the Voyager, looking for any technology that could help defend Earth. Military forces began preparing for a fight they knew they probably couldn't win. Meanwhile, Tom continued working with the ship's systems, now joined by the best scientific minds from every nation. They discovered that the ship's strange metal could be affected by certain Earth minerals in ways that surprised them. It was a small advantage, but perhaps the only one they had. The public remained unaware of the truth. They were told that an important deep-sea archaeological discovery had been made, requiring international cooperation. But rumors spread anyway. People looked up at the night sky with new fear, sensing that something had changed. And far away in the darkness between stars, a fleet of ships much larger than the Voyager changed course and accelerated toward Earth. Their mission was simple: recover what was theirs and remove all evidence of their presence, including any life forms that had been exposed to their technology. The countdown to humanity's greatest challenge had begun. 2 months passed. The world's leaders had gathered in a secret underground facility built near the ocean where the alien ship was found. They sat around a large table, faces grim as they looked at the reports in front of them. "How much time do we have left?" asked the American president. "About 60 days, Lisa replied. She now led the military branch of the Earth Defense Coalition. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual activity at the edge of our solar system. The Astrans are coming." Jack stood up and pointed to a map showing the world's military forces. "We've positioned our best weapons around key locations, but honestly, they won't do much good against beings who can travel between stars." The room fell silent. They all knew the truth. Earth's current technology was no match for the Astrans. But giving up wasn't an option. "Tell them about the new discoveries," the Chinese leader said to Tom. Tom, who looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, nodded and pressed a button on the table. A 3D model of the Voyager appeared in the air above them. "We've learned that the ship's power system uses principles that we can partly understand," Tom explained. "It interacts with Earth's magnetic field in unexpected ways. We think this might be why it crashed in the first place, Our planet has properties the Astrans haven't seen before. Can we use this against them? The Russian president asked. Maybe, Tom said. We're testing a shield concept that could temporarily disable their technology when they enter our atmosphere. And we've managed to reverse engineer some weapons from the Voyager's defense systems. Outside the secure meeting room, the world continued mostly as normal. Most people didn't know about the alien threat. Governments had released only vague statements about a scientific discovery of international importance, but rumors and conspiracy theories spread online. People could sense something was wrong. Military movements were hard to hide completely, and the sudden cooperation between enemy nations raised questions. We should tell the public, Jack argued during another meeting. They have a right to know, and cause worldwide panic. Lisa countered. We need order, not chaos. In the end, they compromised. The world was told about the discovery of an ancient alien vessel, described as long abandoned and mostly non-functional. Nothing was said about the approaching Astran fleet. Meanwhile, in a laboratory built inside a mountain, Jack made an important discovery. The strange alien metal reacted to a rare mineral found deep in Earth's crust in a way that nobody expected. When combined, the two materials created a field that could block the Voyager's communications. If we can block their communications, Jack told Lisa excitedly, we might be able to prevent them from coordinating their attack. Lisa immediately ordered mining operations to extract as much of the rare mineral as possible. It wasn't a solution, but it was something. At the same time, Tom and his team of international scientists had a breakthrough with the Voyager's AI system. They managed to access more of its memory banks and found details about Astran tactics and weaknesses. One piece of information stood out. The Astrans were highly sensitive to certain frequencies of sound that humans could barely hear. We could create sonic weapons, Tom suggested. They won't stop the Astrans completely, but they might confuse them long enough for us to deploy our other defenses. As the days passed, Earth prepared as best it could. Regular military drills were conducted worldwide. Scientists worked around the clock. Underground shelters were quietly expanded, officially for climate change precautions. Jack, Tom, and Lisa rarely left the main facility anymore. They ate, slept, and worked side by side, driven by the knowledge that humanity's survival rested partly on their shoulders. Then, exactly 53 days after the world leaders' meeting, all deep space monitoring stations went dark at once. Communications satellites stopped responding. Every screen in the command center flashed the same message. Unknown vessels detected. Multiple objects entering solar system. Lisa looked at Jack and Tom, her face showing fear for the first time since they'd met. They're here, she said simply, and they're coming faster than we expected. Chaos erupted in the command center as reports flooded in from around the world. 7 massive Astran ships had entered the solar system and were moving rapidly toward Earth. They were already past Mars, moving faster than any human spacecraft could travel. Activate the Global Defense Network, Lisa ordered, her voice steady despite the fear everyone felt. And get me a direct line to all military commanders. Jack and Tom rushed to the laboratory where their most important work was kept. They had been preparing for this moment, but they weren't ready. Not yet. The shield system isn't finished, Tom said as they ran. We need at least another week. We don't have a week, Jack replied. We don't even have a day. In the lab, dozens of scientists were already working frantically. On large screens around the room, they could see the approaching Astran fleet. The ships were unlike anything humans had built. They seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to see clearly. We need to activate what we have, Jack told the team, even if it's not perfect. Tom nodded and began entering commands into the main computer. I can get the planetary shield working at maybe 30% capacity. It won't stop them, but it might slow them down. Around the world, hidden installations powered up. The shield technology they had reverse engineered from the Voyager wasn't meant to be a physical barrier. Instead, it created a field around Earth that interfered with the Astron's navigation and weapons systems. In space, the effect was immediate. The approaching fleet suddenly slowed. One of the smaller ships veered off course, its systems apparently confused by the shield. In the command center, a cheer went up. "It's working," someone shouted. Lisa didn't cheer. She knew this was just the beginning. "Prepare the sonic weapons," she ordered, "and get the Special Forces teams to their positions around the Voyager. If they want their ship back, they'll have to fight for it." Back in the lab, Jack was working on another idea. The experiments with the Earth minerals that affected the alien metal had given him hope. If they couldn't fight the Astrons directly, maybe they could use their own technology against them. "Tom, I need you to help me with something," Jack said. "Remember how the Voyager's metal reacted to our minerals? What if we could use that reaction to boost the shield?" Tom looked up from his work, his eyes widening. "It could work, but we'd need a lot more of the mineral." "We have mining operations worldwide now," Jack reminded him. "And we've been stockpiling for weeks." They quickly designed a new system that would use the mineral to amplify the shield's effect. It was untested and dangerous, but they had no choice. As they worked, the situation in space grew worse. The Astrons had recovered from their initial confusion and were adapting to the shield. Their ships resumed their approach to Earth, though at a slower pace. "They're sending smaller craft ahead of the main fleet," Lisa reported when she called the lab. "Our satellites show at least 20 scout ships heading directly for the Voyager's location. They'll be here in 2 hours." "We need more time," Jack said. "The new system isn't ready." "Well, find a way to make it ready," Lisa replied. "Because in 2 hours, we're going to have visitors." The world's military forces took up defensive positions around the area where the Voyager was hidden. Fighter jets patrolled the skies. Ships filled the nearby ocean. But everyone knew these defenses would be useless against the advanced Astran technology. Their only real hope lay with Jack and Tom and their team of scientists. In a desperate move, Tom returned to the Voyager itself. He believed the ship might hold one more secret they could use. As he entered the central chamber with the blue light column, he noticed something strange. The patterns of light had changed. They seemed more organized, almost like they were trying to show him something. "You want to help us, don't you?" Tom whispered to the ship. "Your people are coming to destroy us, and you don't want that to happen." The blue light pulsed brightly in response, and suddenly, Tom understood what the ship had been trying to tell them all along. He grabbed his radio. "Jack, I know what we need to do. The Voyager has a defense system we missed, something that might actually work against the Astrons." Above them, the sky began to glow as the first Astran scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere. The sky turned an unnatural color as the Astran scout ships broke through the clouds. They were sleek vessels that moved without sound, gliding through the air like silver fish in water. Military jets that approached them were disabled without even being fired upon. Their electronics simply stopped working. In the command center, Lisa watched the radar screens with growing dread. The human defenses were failing much faster than they had expected. The shield technology they had developed was barely slowing the aliens down. "Those scout ships will reach the Voyager in less than 10 minutes, an officer reported. "And the main fleet is accelerating toward Earth again." Lisa grabbed her radio. "Jack, Tom, whatever you're planning, do it now." Tom was still inside the Voyager, working frantically to activate the defense system he had discovered. The blue light column pulsed around him, almost as if it was trying to help. "The ship has been teaching me," Tom explained to Jack over the radio. "It's not just a vessel. It's alive in some way. And it has weapons we can use against the other ships." Jack rushed to join Tom, navigating through the strange corridors of the alien ship. When he reached the central chamber, he found Tom standing before a new panel that had appeared in the wall. "The Voyager hid this system from us until now," Tom said without looking up from his work. "I think it was waiting to see if we would try to use it for defense rather than attack." Jack looked at the complex alien symbols flowing across the panel. "Can you make it work?" "I think so," Tom replied. "But we need to connect it to our planetary shield system. That's where you come in." Together, they worked to link the human technology with the alien defense system. Outside, they could hear the sounds of weapons being fired as Earth's military made its last stand against the approaching scout ships. In the sky above, the small Astron vessels formed a circle around the area where the Voyager was hidden. They began firing energy beams that cut through the water, evaporating it instantly to expose the sunken ship. "They're going to reach the Voyager before we can activate the defense system," Lisa reported. "You need to get out of there now." But Tom and Jack refused to leave. "Almost there," Tom said, his fingers flying over the controls. "Just a few more seconds." The roof of the underwater facility protecting the Voyager suddenly disappeared, torn away by the Astran ships. Seawater rushed in, but the Voyager itself remained dry, protected by its own field. Tom and Jack watched in awe as 3 scout ships descended toward them, hovering directly above the ancient crashed vessel. "Now," Tom shouted, pressing his hand against the alien panel. The blue light column in the center of the room exploded outward, engulfing the entire ship. Jack felt a strange sensation, like electricity running through his body. But it didn't hurt. The light expanded further, reaching up toward the Astran scout ships. When the light touched them, the scout ships froze in midair. Their sleek surfaces dimmed, and they began to drift aimlessly. "It worked," Jack shouted. But their celebration was short-lived. On the main screen in the chamber, they could see the rest of the scout ships changing formation, moving to surround the Voyager completely. And beyond them, the 7 massive ships of the main Astran fleet had entered Earth's atmosphere, their enormous shadows darkening entire cities below. "The defense system isn't strong enough to stop all of them," Tom said, his voice dropping. "We can disable some of their ships, but not the whole fleet." Jack looked at the approaching Astran vessels, then at the controls of the Voyager. A desperate idea formed in his mind. "What if we don't try to stop them?" he asked. "What if we try to talk to them instead?" Tom stared at him. "Talk? They're here to destroy us." "Maybe," Jack said. "But the Voyager has been communicating with us. It's been helping us. What if not all the Astrans want to destroy Earth?" Before Tom could respond, the ship's systems changed again. The blue light condensed, forming what looked like a communication panel. And on the screen appeared a signal being broadcast from the Voyager, not toward the human defenders, but toward the Astran fleet. The signal contained images of Earth, not just its geography, but its people, its art, its music, its science. The Voyager was telling the Astrans about humanity. "It's defending us," Tom whispered in amazement. "Not with weapons, but with information." Above them, the massive Astran ships slowed their approach. Something unexpected was happening. The massive Astran ships hung in the sky like dark clouds, their weapons ready but not firing. Jack and Tom held their breath inside the Voyager as the blue light continued to send images of humanity to the fleet. Lisa and her team watched from the command center, unable to understand why the attack had paused. "Something's happening," Lisa said, looking at the screen showing the alien ships. "They're waiting." Inside the central chamber of the Voyager, the blue light suddenly shifted, forming a shape that looked almost human. It spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "They are listening," the light said. "The elders are considering." Jack stepped toward the light. "Who are you?" "Are you the ship?" "I am the Voyager's guidance system," the light replied. "What you might call an artificial intelligence. I was damaged in the crash, but I have been slowly repairing myself over the centuries." "Why are you helping us?" Tom asked. "Why not your own people?" The light pulsed gently. "My mission was to learn about Earth. I have been watching your species grow for 700 years. I have seen your wars, your cruelty, but also your art, your kindness, your potential. You are unexpected." Before they could ask more questions, a new light appeared in the chamber, a projection from one of the Astran ships. It formed into the shape of an alien, taller than a human with blue-tinted skin and large wise eyes. "I am Elder Vex," the alien said, its voice translated somehow by the Voyager. "Commander of the Astran Exploration Fleet. You have activated our lost vessel and accessed its technology without permission." Jack stepped forward. "We found your ship by accident. We were just trying to learn, to understand." "Yes," Elder Vex said, studying Jack closely. "That is what the Voyager has shown us. Your response was not what we expected." Tom moved to stand beside Jack. "What do you mean?" "The Voyager was not truly lost," Elder Vex explained. "It was placed here deliberately, containing outdated but advanced technology. A test, as we have done with many developing worlds." Jack and Tom exchanged surprised glances. "A test?" Jack asked. "To see what we would do with alien technology." "Yes," Elder Vex confirmed. "Most species either worship the technology or immediately try to use it as a weapon against others of their kind. You did neither, at least not entirely. You studied it. You tried to understand it. You prepared defenses, yes, but you also created communication systems." The Elder's eyes seemed to soften. "And most surprising of all, the Voyager itself chose to defend you. Our artificial systems have never before judged a species worthy of such intervention." Lisa's voice came through on the radio, having heard everything. "So this was all just an experiment. You were going to destroy our planet over a test." "We never planned to destroy Earth," Elder Vex said. "If you had failed the test, we would have simply removed the Voyager and all knowledge of it from your world. Your development would have continued naturally, but you would not have been considered for contact for many more centuries." "And now?" Jack asked, hardly daring to hope. Elder Vex made a gesture that might have been a smile. "Now, everything has changed. Your species showed not only intelligence but wisdom. Your governments set aside ancient conflicts to work together. Your scientists sought to understand rather than simply exploit. And you touched something in our creation that we ourselves had not predicted." The blue light of the Voyager pulsed happily beside them. "The Astran Concord would like to extend an invitation to Earth," Elder Vex continued. "Not as subjects, but as equals. We offer knowledge exchange, cultural understanding, and alliance." Jack, Tom, and Lissa could hardly believe what they were hearing. After months of fear and preparation for the end of human civilization, they were instead witnessing its new beginning. In the days that followed, the Astran ships remained in Earth's orbit, but as guests rather than invaders. Elder Vex and other Astran representatives met with world leaders. The truth was finally shared with all of humanity. They were not alone in the universe, and they had earned their place among the stars. Tom continued to work with the Voyager, learning more about its systems and the knowledge it contained. Jack led a new team of scientists working directly with Astran experts, beginning the long process of adapting alien technology for human benefit. And Lisa became Earth's first ambassador to the Astran Concord. As Jack stood on the deck of his ship, looking up at the night sky where Astran vessels now peacefully orbited alongside human satellites, he thought about how close they had come to disaster, how a single discovery in the depths of the ocean had changed everything. "We passed the test," he said quietly to himself. "And now, the real journey begins." Above him, the stars seemed brighter than ever before, filled with new possibilities and the promise of adventures yet to come.